Yo, what's going on, Winning Shot family? We are back with another episode of these NBA playoffs. Last week we talked about the Western Conference and the end of the first round, and during that time we had some games already starting in the second round. So we're gonna skip past the previews and we're gonna dive right into the second round of these playoffs, both in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. Now, Hunter, we've had some crazy events happen. Some teams we didn't even expect to be up are up. So, based on what you've seen so far in both conferences in the second round, man, can you give me some immediate thoughts? Any surprises? Anything that shocked you? I know we're going to talk about the Knicks and the Celtics, but besides that, are there anything that you are like, man, this is crazy?
Yeah, that Pacers game, that second game where Halliburton hit that game winner, crazy,
Yeah,
crazy. I didn't expect the Pacers to play down to the Cavaliers level, especially with three of their starters out. They was missing Garland, Mobley, and DeAndre Hunter, and the Cavaliers was right there in the game. Should have won the
yeah,
game,
yeah,
and that was surprising to me that the Pacers ended up winning that game, but also it surprised me that they played down to that level of competition. Like that man Spider was going crazy.
crazy.
I
Yeah,
know he was in the locker room sick too, bro.
yeah,
I just scored all of these points and we lose. I know he was tight, yo.
man, for sure. I think the biggest surprise for me, we were kind of talking right before this, was with the Timberwolves. How Anthony Edwards hasn't had his best game yet, and them boys beat the brakes off the Warriors. Now, obviously, nobody expected this Steph Curry injury, but I think even with Steph Curry being on the court, the Warriors' depth compared to the Timberwolves' depth has been like JV and varsity. And so it's going to
Mhm.
be interesting to see how Steve Kerr adjusts without Curry, and if he can make it, if they can extend the series to where Curry can come back. Because if they don't, I think the Wolves, it's going to be over for the Warriors soon. So that's definitely been a surprise. But like you said, with the Pacers and the Cavaliers, man, let's start there. So Indiana has gone up 2-0. So they play tonight, game three, and this is probably the must-win game for the Cavaliers. Everybody expected the Cavaliers to at least make the Eastern Conference Finals. They were number one seed in the East. They had probably, I think, the best record in the East and the NBA besides the Thunder this season, and they seemed like a surprise team. But after the first game, people saw the Pacers go up, but this second game was probably the most shocking. Tyrese, climbs back from being down late after Spider's going for like 50, I think, and Tyrese hits probably the second biggest shot in Pacers history. So let's talk. Let's start there. So in this series, we see that Cleveland has been injured, right? But like you said, they still have been competing, and they still seem like they could have pulled at least one of these games off. So tell me about this series. Why are the Cavaliers down? Is this more about the Cavaliers giving up games because they're injured? They're depleted, or is this the Pacers stepping up and winning these games?
I I think going back to what we talked about in the first round, but like the Pacers are for real, bro. Like
Yeah,
them boys are a true playoff team. Like they know what it takes to win in the playoffs. Like, yes, the Cavaliers have been injured, but like I said, they were up in this game. They
yeah,
were right there. So like them injuries, I mean, yeah, they played a factor, but like, bro, y'all was right there in the game. Like y'all had the game, bro. Like y'all shouldn't have lost that game, bro. Like, dog, that's tough. But yeah, I think the Pacers are for real. Like Siakam, Miles Turner, Nembhard, Neesmith, Halliburton, Toppin, like TJ McConnell. Like the list goes on and on. Like
yeah.
them boys ready to play. They not backing down from nobody. They don't care what your record is. They come into play. They come in the hoop. They gonna defend. They gonna play at a high level, and they gonna score the ball.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, like I text you during the second game, they got a lot of B plus, B minus games littered throughout their roster. Like every contender could snag at least three players off of their team and win immediately, right?
Yep.
I think about Aaron Neesmith, right? Aaron Neesmith, he makes the right play at the right time, and he's just one of those guys where it's like you just want him on your roster, and even off the bench with Benedict Mathurin, it's like he hasn't played much in the rotation during the regular season. But you actually like look at his impact, especially when they were down. Benedict bringing them back, he's a decent piece. And like you said with TJ
Mhm.
McConnell, I think like the Rockets are looking at TJ McConnell and it's like, hey, Reed Shepard, could you at least be this for us, right? Because TJ McConnell, he can guard decently, but he can also facilitate that team when Tyrese is down. And it seemed like in terms of their pace of play, the Pacers are never going to say, "Hey, we're going to stop you and hold you to 80 points." They want to shoot out. They want you to score over 100 points because they say we have the offense and we're going to run up and down the court and be right there in the games like they were, in the second game. I think like the conversation is really going to be around Tyrese, right? I think during the regular season, there was that poll that said Tyrese is voted as the most overrated player, but I feel like so far, even in the first round leading up to this game, like Tyrese has been trying to prove not only just the players in the league wrong, but even just the fans, right? Because I
Mhm.
remember even going back this summer, how there was this meme saying like when you do nothing on the group project with him at the Olympics, being on the bench and getting that gold medal, people were like, why was Tyrese selected? Why did Grant Hill select Tyrese? But I think now you see the way that he is able to really control the game, right? And control the pace of
Yeah.
play and make big shots when it matters. It's showing that he belongs in the star conversation. I think he's kind of in that Cade conversation still, but if he can make some noise and go back to another Eastern Conference Finals, I think you kind of start have to put him in the Jalen Brunson conversation. That fringe, superstar, maybe elite class in the star. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Tyrese so far?
Yeah, steady, can score, can facilitate, and like you said, like he probably heard the noise from the
Yeah,
summer, the overrated poll. Like, bruh's really hooping at a high level, and to your point, I actually think he's already in that Jalen Brunson type conversation, bro. Like,
yeah,
and even like Cade is probably in that conversation too. Like, those three players in itself is close. It's close. It's not.
yeah,
It's not that big of a gap between all three of them. In all honesty, and like I say, I think Tyrese heard the noise. He's delivering, playing at a high level.
yeah. So I'm thinking about the Cavaliers. Like you probably didn't go into the season with much expectation because everybody just wrote in Boston, in terms of the finals. But I believe if even if they lose this series, that this will be a disappointment, right? Coming in as number one seed, Kenny Atkinson's the coach of the year. What do the Cavaliers have to do to get back into this series, and what will be the conversation if they end up losing the series to the Pacers?
I think to get back into this series, just health. Um, I think that's gonna play a big part of it. A healthy Mobley, um, a healthy Darius Garland. That's a difference. That's
Yeah,
a difference. DeAndre Hunter's been solid, but like I don't think he's really like changing the game for real, for real. But definitely not having Garland and not having Mobley 100%, it shows.
yeah,
Um, and like I'm always somebody that like looks at it like when a team is injured, like I can't really like count against them. Like I can't really say too much bad about them. Like they weren't healthy. This isn't the team that they expected to be in this spot with
yeah,
this with these players, right?
yeah,
So when you talk about the future, I don't think they're going to blow it up necessarily. Do you possibly move on from like a Jared Allen? Maybe I don't know. Like they just got DeAndre Hunter. I mean, maybe you can make an upgrade again to the bench or something. But I mean, I don't see them doing nothing too crazy because like you said, they had the regular season success. Nobody expected them to be here, um, and they showed people wrong. They showed people wrong. They showed up. They hooped at a high level. They were healthy, but they have some solid role players that they can build off of and go into next season with good hopes. But I'm with you. It's definitely a disappointment if they lose the series.
yeah, absolutely. Um, and I think the conversation we had around Tyrese, all right, I text you and talked about the infamous Kings Pacers trade with Sabonis and Tyrese. Um, you know, I think moving forward with the Pacers, obviously they know they got their guy,
Mhm.
and I guess my question is moving forward. Let's say the Pacers win the series. Is it sustainable to say that Tyrese around a bunch of B plus B minus guys for the foreseeable future is enough to win a championship? Or do you think that even if they get bounced by Boston or the Knicks, whatever in the first round, I mean in the Eastern Conference Finals, do they need to go package those pieces up and go get a star? Or do you think Tyrese as a one can win the championship?
I don't know. Um, I think that like I talked about before, like building around a guard is definitely easier. And they have the pieces to go after another star if they wish to do so, right?
Yeah,
Um, I don't think that this group is winning the championship. So I
right.
mean, maybe maybe they do need to go get a star, or just hope that these role players, take another step next year. They've shown that they can win a playoff series with this group last year and this year. Um, but I don't think it's enough to win a championship. But as we've seen with the Cavaliers, health. If somebody goes down for the Knicks, if somebody goes down for the Celtics, the Pacers gonna be right there. They're gonna be right
Yeah,
there in the game. They're gonna be ready. Let Jason Tatum or Jalen Brown go down, for example. Let Jalen Brunson go down. We know his ankles are fragile. Let him go down. They're gonna be right there in the game. They're gonna be right
yeah,
there in the game. They're not backing down from nobody, and they're gonna come to play. So maybe they could get to a finals, but then again, you got to beat somebody whoever coming out the West. So we'll
right,
see. But I do think that they need to. I don't know. I don't know because they're in an interesting spot. Like you said, they have the role players if they want to go get a star. But who's that star? Who do you try to bring in? Like, is it a center? Is it a wing? Like, what are you hoping to get back in return? And that's kind of what we talked about last week with a lot of these teams. It's like, what do you hope to get back in return?
right. Yeah. So I guess even with it being 2-0, who is your prediction to win the series?
I'm gonna have to go with the Pacers. I'm gonna have to go with the Pacers. Um, like I said, they don't back down. They're gonna defend. They're gonna play hard. Um, their role players have been showing up pretty much every game,
Yeah,
and playing bigger than role players. Neemhard, Neesmith, they've been hooping. Siakam been hooping. So it's gonna be tough. And like we just said, Spider been going crazy.
and they still
So it's
not.
like
Yeah,
it's only but so much he can do. He gonna need some help. So unless somebody about to come out and play crazy for the Cavaliers, granted their backs against the wall, so they have nothing to lose. They got to play hard every single game moving forward, or it's gonna be get the brooms out,
yeah,
get the brooms out. So, but I'm gonna go with the Pacers. I'm going with the Pacers.
yeah. I agree. I'm gonna go to the Pacers, not even because it's 2-0, but just from that second game, like I told you, I feel like Tyrese is on a mission to prove a lot of people wrong. And even from his series, not only this year but this past season with the Bucks, like he has that killer mentality. Like him hitting game winners over the Bucks, I think that he has what it takes in order to beat these boys. I don't see the Cavaliers winning two in Indiana, and it's going to be interesting with Darius's injury. With the toe, I don't know if you can just come back and be 100%. And I believe with the Pacers' pace of play, with them running up and down the court, I don't know if he's going to be able to come in and just play 40 minutes a night. So with them trying to work him and Mobley back into the rotation, I think they're going to drop one to Indiana. And I just don't see them coming back 3-1. So I think Indiana once again has gotten a lot of good luck and makes it back to an Eastern Conference final. Um, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So let's move to the other series in the East. As the unofficial prayer warrior for the Boston Celtics, I am distraught. I feel like for both of these games, I've been confused as to why we haven't changed our strategy, right? I went to go see Boston and Detroit. This is probably 3 or 4 months ago, right?
Mhm.
And one of the things I noticed it was like Boston shoots too many threes. That was the first thought on my mind because there was this play where um, Peyton Pritchard was all for a fast break, and it was like a 2-on-1, and they could have easily driven ball. It was like versus Isaiah Stewart, and he could have just dropped it off and got 2 points. And he literally stops and shoots a three, and they miss it, and Boston goes down 20. Now in the third quarter, they're down 20, and they come back and end up still losing the game, but they came back easily. And I said, man, this is a problem. Now this is just in the back of my mind because I'm like, in the East, there's nobody really got to worry about. But that problem showed its head, with the Knicks. Now, I know you're a Knicks fan, so you can go ahead and get everything out of the way. All I'm gonna say is, even though we're down 2-0, I'm still confident. I believe if we can get at least one in New York, that we still got a chance. Because with our pace of play, both games we've been up 20. Now, granted, I will say we have dropped both of those leads. But talk to me about how you feeling as a Knicks fan and as a basketball savant in this series. And is there any worry that you see with the Knicks as y'all get ready to play Saturday afternoon in Madison Square?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely worried, bro. I thought both of the games was over. I thought we was gonna lose. I'm sitting here like, dog, are we gonna come back? Then I'm looking, I'm like, dog, we just came back.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did it again.
yeah,
I'm like, okay. Why we can't play like this all game? I
right.
think I think Mikhail had like 0 points going into the fourth quarter, bro. He turned it up, bro. He
Yeah,
turned it up in the fourth quarter. I said, okay, all right, Mikhail. I see why we gave up all them draft picks for you.
yeah, yeah. Everything I got mad about with him in the Pistol series is coming to show itself now.
Yeah, I, I'm a little bit concerned. I wouldn't say I'm like very concerned, but the Celtics are no slouch. Like everybody's been talking about it. They're getting open looks. They're getting open looks. They're just missing them. Eventually, them shots gonna start to drop. Regardless of them shooting a whole bunch of threes or not, you gave an NBA player an open look for three, too much space. It's eventually gonna go in. It's not like they're taking bad shots. They're getting good looks, just not dropping. Um, the Knicks aren't the best at home. They're better on the road in this playoff series. So we're gonna see what happens. But them boys fighting, man. The Knicks fighting, man. I gotta give them that. I gotta give them that. Them boys are not. They not gonna quit. They're gonna run their offense. Run the offense. And try to get some looks. But yeah, man. Yeah. I'm a little bit concerned, but we gonna see, man. It's good to be up 2-0. Like I said, them boys ain't quit, they ain't lay down, they ain't throwing the towel. Um, so that gives me a little bit of confidence, but I just know the Celtics gonna start hitting shots eventually.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember, but the last series with the Magic, there was a game where they lost 90, well, they lost 95-93. And, I said the one thing that concerns me with Boston is their ability to strategize late game situations when it's close. I think we have been blessed to blow out teams throughout the regular season. But that blessing can also turn into a curse because we haven't had many times where we've had to strategically game plan with the game close late. My problem with Missoula is this. I believe in his mind that he believes that this strategy will work. This, shoot as many threes as you can, use the analytics. We're going to be in games and just play good defense. We'll blow teams out. And my worry with that is like throughout the game, I don't see any adjustments, right? We were going 8-minute, 9-minute stretches without scoring a field goal. And it was still, we're chucking up threes. And it's like, okay. And this is how a team like New York is able to get back into games. And so the one thing I worry about is with Jason Tatum, because kind of what I'm seeing throughout this playoffs is like the the more physical teams are getting the benefit of the doubt in these playoffs because the refs are swallowing the whistle in a sense. And Jason, for a lot of times, has bailed the Knicks out by, dribble, 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 step back three. And, there was a play last game, right before the whole game winning block by Mikal Bridges, where,
Mhm.
you know,
When that
Al
Mitchell
Horford sets
Robinson.
yeah, he sets a screen on Mitchell Robinson at half court. Mitchell Robinson doesn't stand a chance. He gets a wide open dunk. I
Hmm.
saw a stat where it says that we went 11 for 11 for dunks, right? Because it was either we spread the court out so much that you're getting wide open, you know, runs to the basket. And I wish that in the same way that we can shoot threes, that we can incorporate more mid-range game and mid-range shots into our game, because I think that it would just diversify our shot selection and make the defense worried about what's getting ready to happen. Because I think that if you can ISO Mitchell Robinson on anything outside of 15 feet, you have a chance going at the rim, and you can get these bigs in foul trouble because Cat loves the foul, especially in late game situations, and that would kind of deplete the Knicks in terms of their strategy, right? And I think the biggest thing for me as a Celtics fan that's concerning is we haven't seen. I think that was game 4, a game 5 with Cat and with the Pistons, where he just looked like all NBA. We haven't seen that game yet. And how
Hmm.
can we fare with Cat having a good game along with, the Knicks playing great defense? Because from the looks of it, man, it looks like OG is, I can see why OG got paid the money because there was a couple of plays we couldn't get by OG.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that worries me. But, like you said, I have no fear because just the same way that our lack of shots, lack of makes got us out of games, I know that if we can consistently make those, at least make half of those shots, I don't think the Knicks stand a chance. And that's just because of how many open looks we've been getting, game 1 and game 2. But yeah,
I I do think that Cat, for the Knicks purposes, Cat has to stay out of foul trouble.
yeah, yeah,
Um, he had a really good game last game. When you look at it, I mean, 21 and 17, that ain't bad. But 4 fouls that game, 5 fouls in game one. Like, you got to be able to stay on the court when your team needs you. Um, so hopefully he can stay out of foul trouble. Like you said, the Knicks don't really have depth at the center, at the power forward position for real.
right,
Um, so whether that's Porzingis getting more looks and taking over, or driving the ball, like you say, taking the mid ranges, um, that'll be big because like we talked about, the Knicks don't have a depth down low. So we gonna see, man. It's gonna be an interesting series. I don't think the series is over. Um, as far as like teams that are up like 2-0, I'm more confident in the Pacers than I am the Knicks.
yeah. I mean, I agree. I think for the NBA, Adam Silver is probably like popping off the champagne right now because the Knicks Celtics game 7 would be all time TV, especially for the fan base that's in New York. And I believe this really, and I was actually thinking about writing an article on this, but like this is really like a styles make fights kind of game, right? You have, this finesse team in Boston versus this physical muck it up team like the Knicks. And I believe, in the same way we're kind of talking about uh, the Florida Houston article I wrote, right? How
Mhm.
the winner of this will kind of dictate what the NBA looks like moving forward. I think a lot of NBA executives are looking at this game and saying, hey, everybody assumed the Celtics were going to, just blow through the Eastern Conference. People were going to be more 3-and-D reliant in terms of going and grabbing players in free agency and adopting an analytics standpoint. But I think if the Knicks can win the series, it totally changes the way a lot of executives approach, their all season. Because I don't think in the same way that you can have 3-and-D guys, you don't want to bolster your roster with just a bunch of guys that can shoot threes because in events like the Knicks in the playoffs, you need guys who can get easy twos and can have the length, guard a variety of different positions. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I think what's been most disappointing for me thus far is like, everything was set up for Tatum to win in a dominant fashion. He gets disrespected this offseason with the the games in Paris, right? Kerr sits him out, whole games sometimes. And throughout this entire season, we've been talking about Wimby or Ant being face of the league. Who's going to take this torch? And Tatum even came out and said that he felt disrespected that he wasn't in that conversation. Tatum doesn't, is not even top three, top four in the MVP votings. And it's like last season, he wasn't the finals MVP. It was Jaylen Brown. I was expecting Tatum to take the torch and just dominate throughout the season. But I think this series is a microcosm of what Jason Tatum has been. Still has decent games, but when it's time to take over, it's like, where is Jason Tatum? That's the only thing that's really disappointing for me thus far, because even the last shot with him doing that fall away from the left side, I'm like, that's not even your game. I mean, I think they should have kind of run the same play as they did before. Al Horford sets the screen a little bit too low. And I think if he would have gone to the basket, we can at least, potentially get a foul, go to the free throw line. But, everything seemed discombobulated in that moment. And I was just like, well, Tatum, I don't think your legacy is going to be defined with a fall away three, fade away on the left side. But, we'll see what. I mean, I think in order to shut everybody up, he has to go dominate Madison Square. Lights are going to be bright. Nick's friend is going to be out. I needed to see
Yeah,
a 40-point game.
and he's capable of it. But just going back to that last play, it seemed like they were trying to get a similar look to when he drove and dunked it. But I mean, you don't set the screen high enough, closer to half court, and he's unable to get that momentum, get that speed going straight at Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson kind of slowed him down, and then OG kind of slid over a little bit. But yeah, I don't think this series is over. Like, if y'all can find a way to like neutralize either OG or Mikal or get one of them out the game, y'all got a pretty good chance. Like, everybody was talking about the Knicks being built to beat Boston. We didn't really see it in the regular season. As we know, the Knicks went like 0-8 against the top teams in the East and West, or 0-12, whatever it was, in the regular season. But like I said, them boys ain't quit. Them boys ain't lay down. Them boys right there in it. They're right there in the fight. And we seeing what Thibodeau can do on the defensive end to draw up some defenses and coverages to get some stops outside of giving up the open look threes that ain't been falling.
Yeah. So give me your serious prediction.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Knicks. Knicks in 6 games.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Celtics. Ride my boys. I'm gonna go Celtics in 7. Um, we gotta get this game 3. I think that going down 3-0, it's kind of like it's Christmas. Like I just don't see us winning 4 straight games. But yeah, we win at least one. I said Celtics in 7.
Yeah, it'll definitely be tough to win 4 in a row. But I think if it gets to game 7, yeah, I like y'all to win in 7 games if it gets to game 7. But hopefully it don't get to game 7. So we're gonna see.
Yeah, let's just get back to Boston. We got game 7 in Boston. Everything's on the table. So
yeah.
All right, let's go over to the Western Conference. Probably, the most surprising game was that game 1 with the Thunder and Nuggets. Nuggets win 121-119, and in the face of everything that went on in leading up to the postseason, everybody kind of expected the Nuggets to kind of fall by the wayside, especially in the Clippers series. They come out and beat the number 1 seed, the Oklahoma City Thunder. But then, in game 2, it seemed like it went back, it reversed course.
Reverse.
The Thunder dominate 149-106. Thunder Nuggets play game 3 tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern. What are your thoughts on this series thus far?
The 2 stars have showed up and have been hooping. Jokic and SGA have both been hooping in both of the games. Like, despite the Thunder losing game 1, I think SGA still had like 36 or something like that. Like, he put up some put up some good numbers, scoring wise, in that first game, but Jokic was too much.
Yeah,
Like I like I texted you. I said Chet and Hartenstein, they gotta be a man in game two. They gotta be men in game two. They tried, but
yeah,
it was the others. I mean, SGA still dropped 30, but everybody else contributed. Everybody was questioning Jalen Williams and Chet after game one. Them boys turned around, showed up. Hey,
yeah,
that's all we can ask. But yeah, like I said, the stars have been showing up. And shout out to Westbrook too. Once again, shout out to Westbrook. He doing his
yeah,
thing. He doing his thing.
yeah. I agree with you, man. I think we, both of us said before the series started, it really comes down to the other guys. You know, SGA is going to at least give you 30 a night. But I think this last game, looking at the stats, Jalen Williams gave you 17, Holmgren gave you 15, Lou Dort gave you 12, Hartenstein gave you 14, and then even off the bench, Isaiah Joe gives you 14, Aaron Wiggins gives you 10, AJ Mitchell gives you 10, and it's like that can't happen on the bench, right? And
Yeah.
it really comes down to like a death by a thousand cuts because like you thought you could start cut off the head with shade, but it's like all these other guys are consistently giving you Jalen Williams almost gives a double double with 17 to 7. It's like I it's hard to stop a team that has multiple weapons. So
Mhm.
I think if Oklahoma City can play like this for 4 more games, I don't think the Nuggets stand a chance because you're banking on Jokic giving you another 40, 50, 60 point game. And I don't think Jokic can do that consistently. Now, I might be wrong, but to ask him of that,
Yeah, I think you're wrong, brother.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but I think even from the standpoint of having asked him to do that, like Murray needs to step up. Like we talked about Bubble Murray, but it's like Murray with 14, it's okay. But I think Westbrook gave you 19 off the bench. The question is like, how do you factor that second team, right? Because you're not getting that same production from Michael Porter. Michael Portland gave you 8 and 5, and it's like, where is your offense coming from outside of Jokic? Like, if you're all I'm saying is, I know Jokic can do it, but if you're having to rely on that every night, that's a tall task. And I think that Oklahoma City just has too much because Jokic could give you 60 and they could still lose.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he had 17 this game, and they still lost by like 40. So I don't know. I think the offense has to be generated from somewhere else. I think the only person I could really look to and say, "Hey, we need some more," is Murray. Everybody else is
Michael
Murray
Porter
and PJ.
Jr.
Yeah,
Michael
but I mean, I
Porter
just said that.
Jr.
But it seems
Yeah,
like,
he need to step up.
yeah. But everybody's saying that he has that shoulder injury. Now he was on the court, so I
Excuses. What are excuses? If
yeah,
he was that hurt, he wouldn't be playing. Garland just missed a game. Mobley just missed a game. DeAndre Hunter just missed a game. Bro, if you hurt, go sit down.
but he
So
can't.
that way,
What are you gonna
we're
do?
not criticizing you for doing nothing except getting cardio.
Yeah, but he sits. It's over. Who else you gonna put in? Unless you
Peyton
run
Watson.
Russ and two guards and go
Peyton
small.
Watson.
All right.
Russell
Okay.
Westbrook been hooping.
That's what I'm saying. But it's like you need that bench production. Like
They not
I
they
don't
not
know.
that deep.
Unless you add,
They're not that deep. But I mean, well, as far as players that play, they aren't that deep. They got some players who could play.
yeah. And I think now is why there was so many disagreements and why that GM got fired. Because I'm looking at their bench and there's nothing on the bench that I can say, hey, I can rely on you to get at least 18
Yeah.
besides
Yeah.
Russ.
I agree.
So
I agree. They don't have nothing like that off the bench for sure.
yeah. And meanwhile, Oklahoma City, I mean, they go 60 of players that can, at least produce and get you buckets. Like now, granted, some of these are question marks because we don't know if the same production is going to happen night to night. But I mean, they're much deeper as a team because even Caruso, like Caruso had 2 points, but I mean, he still plays decent defense, and like a lot of
And
these guys can at least contribute.
yeah, and Caruso game one was hooping. So that just goes to show any night that second group for the Thunder, anybody could go off.
Yeah,
Anybody can go off. Jalen Williams, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Caruso. Any one of them could go off. That's four people right there in the second unit that can
yeah,
that can get you at least 10 to 15 type points and change a game.
yeah. But in saying all that, there's just still something about the Nuggets. I don't want to just write them off. Like it's still something I can't say. Hey, it's
but,
over.
but he said y'all relying heavily on Jokic, but I still believe in y'all.
I still don't want to write them off because I believe personally that Jokic deserves to be MVP, and I think if they can pull off tonight, if can get close and go up 2-1, I just think in terms of experience, I will worry about the Thunder being there, having the resiliency and the experience to match up with the Nuggets in terms of their ability to have that championship prestige. If that makes sense. Um, and like I said last series, I have to give my flowers to Russ because the one thing with Russ is he is going to bring the energy every night. So I don't
Mhm.
have to worry about them being lethargic because I know Russ is going to get them players going. Um, and it's in Denver. So if Denver can pull off one, then I think the Nuggets still have a chance as long as they have Jokic. Who you going with?
I'm with you. Like we talked about uh, with the first round. Like it's something about that championship mentality. Like them boys just know how to win. Like yeah, Michael Porter Jr. ain't been hooping, but he due for a big game. And all
Yeah,
all it takes is for him to see a couple shots go in, and he on fire. Aaron
yeah.
Gordon can change a game too. We've seen him in his role in Denver in the past few years. Like we know his abilities as well, so he can win a game. Like you said, just can't count the boys out, man. Can't count them out. And especially with that Denver altitude, that weather there, yeah, I'm not counting them boys out. I definitely think this probably is gonna go 7 games. I can see this going 7 games easily.
So who do you have if it goes seven?
Denver.
Yeah,
I just
I,
I
I'm
just don't trust the Thunder yet. Like we talked about, like with them and the Cavs, like great regular seasons, but like I gotta see something in the postseason, man. They gotta show me something on a consistent basis that they can get it done. And this will be a good test because Denver is a championship caliber type team.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I'm gonna go Denver. Yeah, I think I picked Denver at the beginning of the series. I still have faith in Jokic. So I don't know if it's going 6 or 7. It really depends on tonight. If the Nuggets can win tonight convincingly, I think they could steal another game. So it could be 6, but it just really depends on the others. I got to see what Chet looks like in Denver. I know what SGA is gonna do. But yeah, I'm gonna go Denver in 6 or 7.
Yeah, role players are gonna be key.
Facts. And we're gonna see what old boy is made of. I forgot the coach's name. Adelman, I think, the new coach. Like these are the moments that matters, all right? you know,
Pack
when
them
the odds
up.
are against you, right? Exactly. All right, so let's go to the last game. Thus far, Golden State is tied right now with Minnesota. I think for everybody, it was um, kind of surprising the way that they were able to steal game one in Minnesota. Seemed like after Finch's comments calling out, the team and Ant, they came to play. They were a little bit more physical this past game. Biggest news in the series thus far has been Steph with the hamstring injury. Um, there was a report today said the earliest he could be back is game 6 if it gets to that point. But from what we saw last night, it seems like with Steph out and their roster being depleted, they don't stand a chance versus the Timberwolves if the Timberwolves come out to play. So
Yeah,
with the series going to Golden State Saturday, do you think that Golden State has a chance? And if so, what does Golden State have to do in order to keep up with Minnesota this series?
I think in order for them to keep up with Minnesota, I answer the last part of that question first. I think in order for them to keep up with Minnesota, they're gonna need their role players. We saw Kaminga finally get some minutes. He had 18 points. Um, we saw in game one, Draymond exploded and had an offensive masterpiece showcase, hitting threes, like acting different on the offensive end. Um, Buddy Hield, we've seen him throughout the playoffs have big games and big moments. Um, and like I said, especially without Curry, they're going to need those guys. So that's how they're going to be able to keep up with the Timberwolves. Um, do I see that happening? No. Um, I think they're cooked without Curry, and that was a glimpse of it in game two. Um, but one thing that I will say about the Timberwolves, they're good at responding. Whenever they go down a game, they drop a game. That next game, they come in with it. They come in with it. You getting their best punch, and they showed that in game two. And I think moving forward, they took that L to game one. Them boys ain't playing around no more, man. Like we talked
Yeah,
about before. Nas Reed, Dante DiVincenzo, Kill Alexander Walker. Any of them boys can go off. Coming they coming off the bench. That's not
yeah,
that's not a big Ant-Man game. Rudy Gobert big game. Jaden McDaniels big game. Julius Randle big game.
that's true. That's true.
Them boys deep, man, and they coming with it. The Warriors have nobody to guard Nas Reed. Them boys cook.
Yeah, I agree. It would be a surprise to me if the Golden State Warriors can pull one game off in the series. I think it's going 4-1. I just think, back with the conversation with Tyrese, how I asked you if the championship team could be won with him being at the forefront of a bunch of B plus, B minus guys. I think that same situation can be applied here with Ant. But the thing is like where I know that these guys on the Pacers are like B plus, B minus. There's a lot of guys on the Timberwolves who could potentially be A minus guys. Like a Nas Reed on a good team, like where he's starting, I think he has the potential to be a star. Right? He's
Yeah.
just kind of stuck with this Timberwolves roster. And even Jaden McDaniels, for what it's worth, I think Jaden McDaniels is a high end B plus guy at his best. Right? And I think that this model right here, and even them picking up Randall in that trade with the Knicks. Like everybody said, it was for money concerns to stay under that second apron. But I think this is a perfect roster for Ant to succeed because if um, Jaden Julius, and Nikhil, Nas Reed, Conley can give you a little bit of offensive production, we know Ant is still due for a big game, right? We haven't
Yeah.
seen a 40-point game from Ant yet in the series. And he's kind of been thrown off track. I think he had 12, 15 maybe. Last time I checked, when I watched the game last time, he had like 12 and 5. And that was like an okay game for Ant, but they're still winning convincingly. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think the scary thing is for a Thunder and moving forward into the finals, they have enough to match roster for roster. There's nobody
Mm-hmm.
on the Thunder that I fear can't go against the Wolves. Their roster even down in Nikhil Alexander Walker, and even Terrence Shannon got some minutes last game, and he looked decent. He looked like he belonged on the court. I
Mm-hmm.
think they have a roster in order to get to the finals, and so I'm curious to know, can they go ahead and close it out? These are the kind of games Saturday or tomorrow where Ant just has to take over. He's like, hey, we're not coming back to Minnesota, right? We want to make sure that we get up. I think they probably will have to come. Yeah, they'll have to come back for
Mm-hmm.
game 5. But when we come back to Minnesota, it's over. So that they can rest up, with the ankle injury I know Ant had. But, just wait for this Thunder and Nugget series and hope it goes 7. But I think in moments like this, we saw last series with, Ant making a joke about beating the Lakers and being the legend killer. But I think we have to shift the conversation out, right? We get that you can beat legends, but now can you go and get to the finals, right? We said that with Luca. Luca got to the finals, right? Ant has to take that next step in order to, belong in that superstar category, like he's meant to be, in my opinion.
Yeah. They definitely got to close out this series. At worst in 6. Um, don't let it get to game 7.
Don't let it. Yeah, I
um,
agree.
but yeah, man, Ants a dog, man. And like you said, like this roster is built around him. Like the conversation last year was like, and even previous years was, is it Ants team or is it Cats team?
Cats team, yeah.
That conversation is out the window now. It's Ants team.
Right.
There's no conversation of Julius Randle. This Julius Randle team? Nah, this Ant team. And Ant showing you, follow me. We gonna go. Now, like you said, they've been getting better offensive production from Jaden McDaniels. Um, if we could see that on a consistent basis, night in and night out, um, then yeah, I think they can do something special. But like similar, I guess similar in a sense to like what we talked about with the Thunder. It's like who else is it going to be? But I trust those guys off the bench a little bit more. Like you said, Nas
Yeah,
Reed can go anywhere and probably be a starter.
yeah,
Dante DiVincenzo was starting with the Knicks.
yeah,
Nikhil Alexander Walker, if given the right opportunity, he might be gone in the offseason or whatever his contract's up because he wants more minutes. Like
yeah,
the those three dudes alone off the bench are capable of being starters in this league. So
yeah. And I think to your point too is like they are probably one of the few teams left in this playoffs that can play different styles. They still
mhm.
have Rudy, and we
Yeah.
saw what Rudy did versus the Lakers in that game. The last game. Um, but the Rudy was sitting on the bench for most of the this Warrior series because you had Steph because they went small. But now
Mhm.
that Warriors are without Steph, you can put Rudy back in and still dominate. And
Hey,
so,
they better put that double big lineup out there. That's what they better
yeah,
do. Them
that's
jokers
what I'm
had
saying.
Quentin Post starting last game. Quentin Post starting last game.
Right. I
Bully
agree.
him.
I mean, if Rudy can give you at least like just give me one game at that 27-24 like he did the Lakers. They are scary. You
Yeah.
can play different ways. Slow it down. Speed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I assume you're going with the Timberwolves
Yeah.
for
Five,
the series.
five, 5 or 6. 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time they're in Minnesota, I think they close it out easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got to take care of these games on the road. It ain't gonna be easy still going into Golden State, but they should be fine without Curry playing. They should be fine.
Yeah. So I guess looking from 10,000 feet, right? What have been your thoughts with this postseason thus far? Because the narrative going into the postseason was like, the game has gotten boring. Chuck and Shaq were talking about how it's become unwatchable. I know during the season the ratings were down, and I think when that Luca trade happened, obviously viewership went up because people were curious to know what the Lakers would look like with Luca. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, in the past probably like 3 years, I think this has been the most exciting playoff because anybody can be beat clearly, and you have big shots with Jalen Brunson versus the Pistons in that game 7. You got that obviously that Tyrese shot, which I believe is probably top 3 in Pacers history. But I think one of the problems the NBA has addressed is the 3-point shooting because teams are going down 20 and coming back, and it's like, all right, back in the day when you got down 20, it was over,
It
but
was over.
yeah, but like teams are quickly coming back now. But what are your thoughts so far on this postseason? Um, and I guess as a postseason, but also in this NBA season altogether.
Yeah. And it goes to what you just talked about how anybody can be beaten. I think everybody expected Boston, even in the regular season. Boston got a repeat. They
Yeah,
should be they should be the top team in the East. They should repeat. They weren't the top seed. They're down 0-2 right now. Like that's gonna be a big storyline in the offseason if they don't get back to the finals or win it all.
yeah,
And then you got the top seeds. OKC tied 1-1 with Denver. You got coaches getting fired throughout the late in the regular season. Um Cavaliers down 0-2. Like the storylines just make for like a good underdog story. And I think that's what a lot of fans like to see is that underdog story. Like people like to root
Yeah,
for the underdogs. So you see a Jalen Brunson carrying the Knicks in a sense, right? You see, like I said, the top teams down, top teams struggling. Ant Man, who's a character at this point, like, bro, he's pretty much the face of the league, bro. He's in every
yeah,
commercial. You always hear from him. You always see him, and he's playing at a high level on the court
yeah.
in a small market like Minnesota.
Right.
So you like to see those type of things, and I think that'll help to draw viewers in. I don't know if it'll affect the viewership in a crazy amount, but I think this postseason has been exciting, and it's because of the underdogs.
Yeah, and I think this was the perfect transition for the league because people were questioning like, when Steph's gone, when Braun's gone, what is the league going to look like? Are people going to adopt this new version of the NBA? And I think we see it with LeBron being out, but even him deferring to Luca, we have an answer there. And I think we're kind of able to see it in a petri dish right now. With Steph being out, right? We're seeing Steph out, and the league is still watchable in a sense because you have Ant, you even have Jalen Brunson, and even being a Celtics fan, I'm happy to see that this series is competitive because like it's one thing to go 4-0, but it's another thing for it to be competitive, and that game 5 and 6 is going to be lit in Madison Square. I can't wait to see Spike on the sidelines, all the celebrities on the sidelines because when the Knicks are good, like I think basketball is good, right? And I think a lot of teams, even like you said with the underdogs, with the Pacers, right? The Pacers go to the Eastern Conference Finals again and lose, it's only going to make for an eventful offseason, with the KD sweepstakes, with the Giannis sweepstakes. The Pistons made the playoffs. And
Yeah.
now, teams like that, I feel like that, like your Magic, your Pistons, teams kind of in that fringe playoff, like they're going to be making some big moves this offseason because they feel like they're right there. So I think for the league, this was probably the most beneficial season for them because it gave a perfect torch passing between the legends, your KDs, your Hardens, Kawhis, onto this next generation of superstars and teams that are going to carry the NBA into the dynasty that's looking to be and the promised land is looking to be.
Yeah, and speaking of that too, like one team that I do want to mention, the Spurs. Like they made a move. They got De'Aaron Fox. They added De'Aaron Fox. So I'm interested to see how that's gonna look next year with Wemby coming back healthy. How will the Spurs look? They got Castle, who just won Rookie of the Year. They might move on from CP3. So who else do they decide to bring in the offseason? Like that's definitely gonna be a team that I'm gonna be looking out for in the offseason.
Yeah, and to your point, I think this pop stepping down is going to be
That
interesting
too. Yeah, I
because
forgot about that. Yeah.
it might look different. It might not look like Tim Manu and the Spurs way anymore. Like this
Mhm.
might be something completely fresh, and with the changing of the guard, I think the Spurs have the opportunity to make a couple big moves, and we'll see what that looks like, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think this is not only going to be an eventful postseason, rest of the postseason, but this offseason is going to be probably, I think, in terms of the second apron, a lot of teams making these big moves, and Luca opening up that can of worms for executives to move on from great players. I still think that there is an open door for a lot of good superstars to be moved, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like we were talking about offline, I had this thought about in our lifetime, like who has been the best player from our standpoint in different franchises. I think there are a couple of franchises where it's pretty clear cut, but I believe we've been blessed with the opportunity to see the league progress. Like we had, back to the basket bigs at the beginning of our lifetime. Now we have Steph Curry and the age of the 3-point shot. And, just like we mentioned, we have these emerging young superstars. So I'm gonna shoot some franchises at you, and you just tell me the first player that comes to your mind in terms of the best player in our lifetime in that specific franchise. All right, all right.
All right.
So let's start with the Kings. Who has been Sacramento's best player in your lifetime?
Mm. And we talked about this offline too. Um, best player. I don't know. So like when you were introducing it just now, when you said like quickly like name a person, like this is not necessarily the best player, but like the first person that comes to my mind when I think about like the Kings, Stojakovic. He wasn't the best player, but like that's the person that I immediately think of when I think about the Kings. Pedro Stojakovic. That's who
Yeah,
I think
I
of.
mean, so I wasn't really like watching basketball when like Chris Webber and Jason Williams were dominating. So I was the first person that came to my mind was Cousins Boogie.
Oh,
Um,
you could have
it's
said Mike
either between
Bibby.
Boogie or Fox to me.
Okay, okay, I can see that. I can see that.
Okay, so let's stay in the Western Conference. The Rockets.
T Mac, Yao Ming. Those are the two that I think of.
I'm gonna
Bruh,
say Harden.
Yao Ming was a staple, bruh. 7'6", bro. Like he just stands out, bro. Like if that's not the first person that you think of when you think the Rockets, bro, just give up your basketball card, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Harden though.
I knew you was gonna say Harden. I knew you was
I
gonna say Harden.
I'm gonna say Harden
You
because
you
both.
you gave it away when you was talking about the Kings. You said you weren't watching basketball like that. So I knew you was
I
gonna
mean, but
go somebody earlier.
even with T Mac didn't do much in the postseason. The same problems we had with Harden, you can say with T Mac.
Yeah, see, you looking at it like that. I'm looking at it from like the first person that comes to my mind when I think of these teams. But I mean, I guess you're right. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, let's not act like Harden was going on stretches where he was averaging 30. Like Harden was a killer in Houston.
Bro, he was, and it's no discredit to Harden, bro. Like he was playing at an MVP level. Like he had the keys. He was running the show. Them boys just happened to have some injuries. Chris Paul getting hurt when they could have beat the Warriors, or just running into better teams. Like, yeah, that was a good time. Small ball basketball, man. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at the pick.
Let me think of another team. You got a team on your mind? I'm trying to think.
Spurs.
Duncan. Yeah, Duncan.
Yeah, I was thinking either Duncan or Tony Parker. One of those two.
Uh, Trailblazers.
Damn, easy. Damn, easy.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I was trying to make an argument for LA or Roy, but it's
Yeah, I
weird.
mean, I mean, maybe Aldridge, but I think Dame kind of like overshadowed all of that once he got there.
Yeah, the Pacers.
Hmm. PG,
Yeah, uh, yeah,
unless you
PG
wanted to
for
go
sure.
like Malice in the Palace days. I mean, one of those players maybe, but I mean, I think of PG.
Yeah, but in terms of talent and best player, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
he's
I
still
mean,
the best on the team.
Reggie Miller maybe. I mean,
We weren't. I wasn't watching basketball like when Reggie Miller was in his prime. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. Hey, this is in our lifetime. This is in our
Yeah, in our
lifetime.
lifetime.
When
Yeah,
y'all watching
I don't
this,
want.
how do you say Paul George and not Reggie Miller? This is our lifetime,
Right.
bro.
I don't want Unc to be in the comments and bring up
I,
Jordan,
I
Nate
ain't 40,
Archibald. No.
bro. I ain't 30, bro.
Right. The Magic.
Dwight.
Yeah, easily.
Hornets.
Kemba.
Okay, Kimball. Okay, Kimball. Kimball.
Yeah, Kemba.
Okay.
The Heat. D Wade.
D Wade or Brian. One of those two.
Oh yeah, I forgot. My bad, Brian. Yeah. I was just saying you for Cleveland.
D Wade for legacy purposes, but I mean Brian.
Yeah. Uh, the Pelicans.
like I said offline, the first person that I thought of, AD. But you convinced me, man. Chris Paul. You
Yeah.
convinced me of that
Chris
one.
Paul. That was an insane Chris Paul in New Orleans. The
Yeah,
Hornets.
yeah. Mm.
Um,
Jazz.
Toronto. Oh, it's a Spider. I actually, yeah.
You probably wasn't watching basketball then, but Darren Williams.
I was gonna say Darren Williams because Darren was a problem because he got traded to the Nets afterwards, or was he? Because one of them Brooklyn years he was terrible.
We talking about the Jazz years, brother. Stay
Yeah,
focused.
yeah. I was gonna say Darren, but I mean in terms of best, them early Spider years, like them, they were still elite.
Yeah. And I was talking to my pops about this the other night when Spider was going off. I'm like, he used to this. He used to not playing with like no stars. He
Right,
was
right.
he, he was running the show in Utah with no help. I mean, he had Gobert, but like he had no help for real, bro.
Yeah, I I
He's
mean
comfortable in this situation.
we've seen this constantly. I think like obviously I didn't see Carl, I didn't see Stockton. I mean, and Hayward's career was kind of cut short, but I mean Utah he
Mhm.
was still dominant. I think underrated player is Karolinko, right? Um,
I think he's most known for getting dunked on.
yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely spotted it there. Like, trying to think who else is on that roster.
The
I mean,
Nets.
Jason Kidd.
Hmm. Vince Carter. Yeah, yeah, I can see Kid.
I mean, Vince was the most talented and probably most athletic, but I mean, in terms of best player all around, I think Jason Kidd,
Hmm.
in my opinion. Are you going with Vince?
I think it's close. I would say one of those two. I
I
mean,
mean, low key, you can put KD in there. I mean, but those are I mean, KD was, bro, that playoff run, KD literally put Brooklyn on his back.
all right. So Warriors. Yeah, let's
See
hear
the
your
step of
logic for
KD.
this one.
See the
Yeah.
step of KD. I'm gonna go Steph. Like, what Steph did?
What about
I think
KD? He
KD.
bought them two championships and won MVP in both of them championships.
Absolutely, but I think in terms of setting the tone, like KD
Do
was
you,
able. I think.
do
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
think they would have won those two championships without KD?
No, no. Like KD gave that offense something that we've never seen before in our lifetime. Like that was the first time where you could say you had three of the best shooters in the league on the same team, and KD also gave you that length and defensive ability. So I'm thinking if you're talking about just standalone rosters alone, oh yeah, KD was the best on that roster. But I think in terms of longevity for the career for that organization, the first name
Now,
person that came up
now
was Steph.
longevity matters. After you
No,
just
I'm just
said
saying like
KD for the
Steph.
freaking Nets.
No, because I mean, there's been situations in the NBA where like you've had a good player like Kawhi has gone to the Toronto Raptors for a year and he has been the best player ever in their organization. but I think in terms of
Yeah,
longevity,
I don't know about that. I mean, he won them a championship, but I don't know about like best player in his
are you saying
entire
Bosch?
franchise history. Yes.
He's up there. But what I'm saying is, if you look on any list, if we're just going based on that year, Kawhi is up there. But if we're factoring in longevity and impact, yes, I would go Bosch. I mean, he had the best run, one of the
After
best
after
runs.
after you just said KD for the Nets is what I'm saying.
No, no, no. I mean, for me, I said Jason Kidd, but I'm saying like KD could be in that conversation if we're just talking about 1 year, 2 year deals. Like, go rewind it. I said Jason Kidd. I'm just saying.
KD not in that conversation, man. He ain't earned enough stripes in Brooklyn. All
All
I'm
right.
saying is during his time there, like you just said for Kawhi, he bought them a championship. He KD ain't do nothing in Brooklyn. They had a big three, cool. They ain't do nothing.
Um, the Hawks.
Josh Smith,
I was gonna say Joe Johnson.
yeah. I mean, I feel like any one of those players
Yeah.
during that time period could possibly make a case for Trey Young, but I mean, like you said, hasn't done anything in the postseason. But he's putting up great numbers. He averaging like 30 and 10 multiple seasons. Underrated for sure.
The Thunder.
Is this like the Supersonics and Thunder?
Yeah. Because
KD
the
or
Nets I
Russ?
did New Jersey.
KD or Russ? One of those two.
KD.
I mean, maybe Ray Allen if you going all the way back to the Supersonics. Maybe, but KD or Russ?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I didn't see much of them Rays Supersonics days. Like, yeah, I did not. I can't even look at. Um, I feel like I'm some crucial teams. Well, we said the Grizzlies. So, who is your pick for the Grizzlies?
I don't know, bro. We mentioned that we mentioned several players that it could be. And I don't think we confirmed anything. um ah, Grizzlies. Zebo. I'm gonna go Zebo. Shout out Zach Randolph, man. My fellow
Yeah, I
Zach.
love Zico. I love Zico, man. I think for the sake of conversation, like I said before, I'll probably go Marcus. So, yeah.
You can make a case for Conley or Tony Allen, like we talked about. So shoot. Yeah.
Where's John in that conversation? Is he even in that conversation yet?
I mean, I think he's after those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
He's definitely after those guys. Definitely.
Yeah.
And like I said, you could probably make a case for like Conley or Tony Allen. Like maybe he's higher than those two guys, maybe. Or if you have Zebo lower, maybe he's higher than Zebo. I mean, I guess it just depends on what you prefer.
The Mavericks.
Dirk.
Yeah, Dirk easily. Um,
Would
Boston.
you say
Okay,
Boston?
go. Yeah,
You said Boston?
yeah,
That's who I was about to ask you about. I was just gonna ask you if you were thinking like Paul Pierce. Like, is
yeah.
that is
Paul.
that like the automatic answer?
I don't know. I mean, like Paul Pierce. The truth's up there. I mean, but you could look. You put Ticket up there. You could put AG in that conversation. Like,
Me personally, my favorite Celtic and point guard is Rondo. Like outside of CP3, Rondo was one of my favorite point guards growing up. So like I just love Rondo's game. That's just me personally.
yeah, and he's not on this list, but one of my favorite Celtics, underrated, Avery Bradley. Like,
AB. He was tough in 2K.
yeah, one of the greatest defenders in Celtics and NBA history, honestly.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I personally prefer Ticket. Like, I mean, Pierce has the conversation. I think it's 1A, 1B, but I personally prefer Garnett. Because the thing is
Timberwolves.
though, I was gonna say like you gotta you gotta talk about his early years too. Uh, Timberwolves.
You got three. You got three to choose from, essentially.
Yeah, I'm
And you
glad we
already
can
know
agree. It's
who.
not more than three.
Huh?
Like I'm glad we agree on the three,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like nobody else is in that conversation.
yeah. Nobody else.
Uh, a side note, I was listening to the 520 and they talk about I think he either is leading in scoring, but like AE is already like top three in scoring. I'm like, nigga just got to lead.
He ain't been here long.
Yeah. I would say Ticket again. Like them early KG years. Now, granted, in my lifetime, like them Kevin Love years was insane.
Bruh,
He was
he
the
was
first
going
person
crazy.
we just casually like, yeah, 22 and 22. I'm like, huh?
Again? Bruh.
Like nobody's gonna box out this,
He was doing that junk in his sleep, bro.
bro. That was like people see like this next generation. They only see that Cleveland Kevin Love, but Kevin Love with Minnesota. He was doing Jokic numbers before Jokic. Like
Bruh, Kevin
ridiculous.
Love was so tough, bro. K Love was tough, bro. He was nasty, bro.
Yeah, for the sake of the game, I'm going K Love, man. In my
Man,
lifetime,
shout
right
out
now.
K Love, man. Shout out to K Love, man.
Yeah, K Love for me, for sure, in my lifetime. Who you got?
Probably K Love, bro. KG was cold. KG was cold for sure. He definitely like laid the foundation for K Love and Ant Man. But I'm gonna go K Love, but low key, Ant Man right there, bro.
Oh yeah,
Ant
easily.
Man right there too, bro. Like those
Because
three alone is close.
the thing with both of those guys, with Ticket and K Love, they never had deep playoff runs. Like
Mm,
AE is really like the first person where we talking about Timberwolves can make the finals.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, the Clippers.
They ain't really had no history like growing up for real, for real. Like nobody was really checking for the Clippers. I ain't gonna hold you, but nobody was really checking for the Clippers. Um, I guess you gotta go to the Lob City days, bro. I mean, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Chris Paul. Um, once again, I already said Chris Paul is one of my favorite point guards outside of Rondo, so I'm gonna go CP3, man. I'm gonna go CP3, but I'm not mad if you choose Blake or like DeAndre Jordan or somebody. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say
Kawhi.
Chris. I wasn't. I wasn't really watching the Clippers like them Elton Brand years, even though he was cooking. Uh, but I would probably say Chris. I can't even put Blake because of injuries, honestly. Like
Mm,
I would probably say Chris. Yeah, I think if PG would have stayed healthy, like he could have been a good Clipper. But I think Chris in terms of like longevity and impact, because he was really setting the foundation for that Lob City, honestly. Because if it would have
mm.
just been a random point guard and Blake and DeAndre did, would have been a lot of crashing out. So I think yeah, his impact was probably seen the most with the Clippers.
Mm.
Uh the Knicks.
Mello,
Who's number two?
maybe like Amari Stoudemire, or like yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think back to those days.
Yeah, man, the Knicks have had some dark days in our lifetime.
Yeah, I mean they've had some good rosters, bro. Just can never get over that hump, bro. Like always run into somebody that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Or we trade our pieces to a championship team. Idiots.
Washington.
John Wall, Bradley Bill, Gilbert Arenas, maybe, but probably John Wall or Bill would be my choice.
Yeah. My lifetime, John. Gil's career is kind of cut short, obviously, with the gun stuff, but that's it.
He was tough on the video game though. NBA Live. Shout out! And they had the gold jerseys on there for the Wizards.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. Them tracks was
Sixers.
tough.
Nah, they were that black streak. The Sixers.
AI, AI,
Yeah.
or Indeed.
Yeah. AI led to the finals. Put the team on the
Hey,
back.
bro. Hey, MB won an MVP.
Okay, the Suns.
Steve Nash, Mari Stoudemire.
Yeah, I was gonna put Amari on that one, not the Knicks, but yeah, I was gonna say Amari. Them early Amari years was ridiculous as well.
Yeah,
Steve is up there, but Amari really set the foundation for that team, honestly, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah, yeah. That was a crazy one.
Uh, are we missing any teams? Trying to think. Did we say? Oh, the Bucks.
Giannis. I would have to
Yeah.
probably say Giannis. Like who
Who's two?
who was there before Giannis? Michael Redd.
Yeah, like I mean, in our lifetime, it's definitely honest. Because I mean, you had like GP was on that team. Wasn't Ray a Buck? Or am I tripping?
Who?
Was Ray on the Buck, or was he just going with the
Yeah,
Supersonics?
Ray Allen was on the Bucks for a little bit.
Yeah, I never saw Ray with the Bucks.
He played on the Bucks in dang, does this even show me? He was there from 96 to 03.
Yeah, B Jennings didn't have a long career.
Yeah, Brandon Jennings.
Yeah, Giannis. I don't think it's close. And the Nuggets, you got Jokic.
Or Mello.
Yeah. What about the Pistons?
Chauncey, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, those guys, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton. I can name their whole starting five.
Yeah.
And I'm a Pistons fan. The boys had a crazy identity.
Yeah, the
Shout out to that
collective.
Pistons team, man. Shout out to them boys, man.
Yeah, I'll probably say Chauncey. Underrated player, definitely Rip, but Chauncey. I forget the head.
Tayshaun was nice too.
Yeah.
Tayshaun Prince was nice.
Dang, they could have had Melo. That's crazy.
Crazy. Could have.
The Lakers.
The Lakers. You gotta go Kobe. You gotta go Kobe. You gotta go Kobe. There's no question about it. You gotta go Kobe. Easy.
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
Ooh,
Did we get everybody?
is that everybody? I feel like we
Look up.
probably missing somebody. Or we might have did everybody. I don't know. Let's see standings. Cleveland, Boston, New York, Indiana, Milwaukee, Detroit, Orlando, Dwight. Did
Yeah,
we do
said that.
Orlando?
Yeah.
Chicago. Did we do the Bulls?
Oh no, we didn't do the Bulls.
D Rose.
D Rose, easy.
Since you just stared at me when I said Joe Kipdo and Lou Alding.
They're not even number 2. I'll put Butler before I put them.
You forget about Jimmy. Yeah. Jimmy did play for them. Jimmy done been on a few teams.
Loki could put him on that Wolves list and then before. You're right there. And you said the Bosch for the Raptors, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
easy. That that's everybody. Kings, Dallas, Dirk. We did
Charlotte,
Phoenix. We
Kemba.
did Portland. We did San Antonio. We did Utah. We did the Hornets, Pelicans. That's everybody, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah. I feel like it's a yeah, I feel like we agree with pretty much all of them, honestly.
yeah, yeah. It wasn't nothing too crazy. Y'all,
Yeah, we
y'all let
gotta
us know y'all thoughts in the comments, man. If we miss somebody, man, let us know, man. Let us know.
yeah, absolutely. In your lifetime. Now I know our viewership
Okay.
probably diverse in terms of age. Like don't be
If you
don't
40
be
or 50, you got it, bro. I don't even know
where
who that is.
where like
I
I
wasn't
don't
even
want people
born
to
then.
you said why you ain't mention Larry? My bad. I went watching them Isaiah Larry games in the playoffs. Like my bad.
Isaiah Thomas was tough. Oh, okay, bro. Okay,
Don't
Unc.
worry.
Okay, Pops. My bad, bro. I wasn't born yet.
Right. My bad.
Excuse me.
Like, hey,
Bro, how
nah,
y'all not say Michael Jordan?
bro. I was not watching.
I'm not
Listen,
that old.
I didn't even watch the Wizards, Mike. Like, my bad.
Word.
Nah, but for real, y'all let us know your comments, man. Like in the comments, put y'all's favorite player, best player, whatever in y'all lifetime. Don't be capping now, and don't be looking on Google.
Word.
Like, yeah,
Talking about some Jordan. Bro, you was born in 1999, bro. Stop
you
it.
younger than me. They talking about, oh, I was watching them Hardwood classics. Like,
ESPN Classic. Where you saw that game at?
were you in a
You put up
time
YouTube
capsule?
highlights?
Talk about John Havlicek. Like, stop it. Stop it. Nah, but we appreciate the love. Like always, like, share, and subscribe. If somebody doesn't know about Winning Shot, be sure to tell them about Winning Shot. We will try to get content as these rounds go on. There's a lot of exciting content. I know WNBA season's coming up, so Hundo and John are definitely going to be giving y'all all exclusive content as Caitlin Clark and Indiana and all these other teams are getting ready to face off next week, right, Hundo?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, next week. So a lot of great storylines happening this season in the WNBA. But we're not just doing basketball. We also got football content coming your way. We also covered the college game. So be sure to subscribe so that you can stay tuned for the content we got coming. And if you haven't already, then go over to Substack. We got some exclusive articles that me and Hundo are writing in order to prepare for these seasons coming up and even the postseason with the NBA. So if you want to sit down, chill, and read some content, man, be sure to like, share, and subscribe our Substack content. Hundo, you got anything to tell the people?
Yeah, go. You don't gotta open up a book. You can type in a link to read.
Yeah,
Go
for sure,
read you
man.
something this weekend.
Not for real, bro. Um, like I said before, man, appreciate the love, man. Make sure you subscribe to at least 3 people, man. And until next time, peace.
Peace.